Metabolic alkalosis means that the blood pH rises. And metabolic means it's due to changes in the bicarbonate concentration. In contrast to metabolic disorders, respiratory ones come through changes in the concentration of CO2 in the blood. You might remember that the blood pH can be described by the Henderson-Hasselbalch equation. We simplified it here and state that the blood pH is proportional to bicarbonate divided by pCO2. So any change in one of these leads to a change in blood pH. And in metabolic alkalosis, the bicarbonate rises and then also the blood pH rises. Alkalosis per definition starts at a pH of a 7.45. To be exact, the state of blood being alkalotic is actually called alkalemia, whereas the process of how this state develops is called alkalosis. So what leads to an increase in bicarbonate then? That's a good question, but more important is the question, what maintains the excess? And here's why. There are studies that have looked at the effects of bicarbonate on the body, and results have shown that the kidney has an incredible talent to excrete excess bicarbonate in order to stabilize blood pH. So in healthy individuals, any excess bicarbonate is eliminated into the urine. And therefore today's question would be, what forces the kidney to reabsorb bicarbonate again and again to maintain the alkalosis? There are basically three different reasons. The first one is a disbalance in chloride and bicarbonate. The second one is hypokalemia. And the last one is overactivity of the hormone aldosterone. Since the kidney is responsible for excreting excess bicarbonate, the question is, what do we get in exchange for bicarbonate? Bicarb is negatively charged. So for every bicarb that was in the blood and entered the urine now, we need another negatively charged ion in exchange. And this is chloride. It's a crucial renal concept that bicarbonate and chloride exist kind of in an equilibrium in our body. They are not present in equal concentrations, but when one rises, the other usually falls since they are exchanged in the tubule system. This happens automatically and follows the rules of electroneutrality. Since chloride and bicarbonate should be in balance, a loss of chloride can lead to an increase in bicarbonate instead. So the question is, how is chloride lost then? Chloride can be lost renally, so into the urine, or gastrointestinally. And let's start with the latter. Do you know a body fluid that contains lots of chloride? Right, it's the stomach acid, which consists almost entirely of protons and chloride, HCl. So when a person vomits a lot, it loses lots of chloride ions. A metabolic alkalosis can then occur. And here's another factor contributing to the maintenance of this condition. If this person repeatedly vomits, it also loses fluid. And what does this trigger next? The renin-angiotensin-aldosterone system is activated in order to increase blood pressure again. It's a hormonal system, and through the effect of aldosterone, in the distal nephron, sodium is increasingly brought back into the blood. But why? The body needs water to maintain blood pressure, so to fill the pipes, the vessels. But blood and also cells consist of ions and proteins, and they have a specific osmolarity which needs to be maintained. So the kidney reabsorbs sodium and water passively follows. What does it have to do with metabolic alkalosis then? For every sodium reabsorbed, a negative ion needs to follow due to electroneutrality. But due to vomiting, there is a little chloride left, which would be the standard ion to follow. So more and more negatively charged bicarb follows automatically the sodium into the blood due to electroneutrality. But this leads to an increase of bicarbonate, and following this equation, it leads to a metabolic alkalosis. So to summarize, the kidney prioritizes blood pressure maintenance over pH stability by reabsorbing sodium via the RAAS, and then bicarbonate, since there is little chloride left, to be the anion in the blood. What is another way chloride can be lost? Chloride can also be lost via the urine. The question here is, what forces the kidney to excrete specific ions like chloride? The answer is diuretics. Thiazides and loop diuretics cause the excretion of many ions, including chloride. And long-standing use of diuretics can induce hypovolemia again, and the same mechanism of RAAS activation, like in the individual vomiting, can occur, leading to metabolic alkalosis. Other renal processes include tubular disorders called tubulopathies, which mimic the effect of diuretics. These are Gitelman syndrome and Bartter syndrome. Gitelman syndrome acts similar to thiazide diuretics, but this time the ion transporter is genetically dysfunctional, not pharmacologically, while Bartter syndrome mimics loop diuretics. Okay, let's look at another bucket. Hypokalemia causes a metabolic alkalosis through a different mechanism. Severe hypokalemia causes potassium to shift out of the cells into the blood in order to compensate for the loss in the blood. This happens via an antiport, and it also occurs in the kidney cells. Potassium is pushed out of the cells in exchange for protons. So the second step is, as we know, the kidney manages acid-base balance. And now the renal cells think, oh, there's an acidosis present. To fix this acidosis, the kidney responds by releasing bicarbonate into the blood, since this would rise the pH again. So a severe uncorrected hypokalemia fools the kidney into thinking there's an acidosis in the blood, which actually causes an alkalosis to develop, for as long as the potassium remains low. Interestingly, hypomagnesemia, so low magnesium in the blood, amplifies this problem even further because magnesium is an important cofactor for channels and transporters in the kidney. A correction of hypokalemia can only work when magnesium is normal. Check out our video on hypokalemia to learn more about the different causes of hypokalemia. And the last bucket, the last cause of metabolic alkalosis, is excess aldosterone effects. This can be hyperaldosteronism, primarily due to a tumor that directly produces aldosterone, known as Conn syndrome, and you can watch this video on that. Or it could be pseudo-hyperaldosteronism, which also stimulates the effects of aldosterone. You may watch our video to learn more. The aldosterone effect is that it stimulates proton excretion and bicarbonate reabsorption in the distal nephron. More and more aldosterone increases the proton excretion in the urine, which leaves bicarbonate in the blood, and this can lead to a metabolic alkalosis. Remember the triad of high aldosterone: high blood pressure due to sodium retention, hypokalemia due to potassium excretion, and metabolic alkalosis due to bicarbonate retention due to proton excretion. Let's summarize. Metabolic alkalosis is an excess of bicarbonate. A healthy kidney is fully capable of excreting excess bicarbonate. This means an alkalosis does not initially arise from too much bicarbonate, but rather from a disorder that forces the kidney to reabsorb bicarbonate again and again and again. Specifically, chloride can be lost via vomiting. It can also be lost renally via diuretics or Gitelman or Bartter syndrome. Second, hypokalemia mimics an acidosis, and the kidney answers with an increase in bicarb production, leading to an alkalosis as long as the hypokalemia has been resolved. And lastly, bicarbonate can be left in the blood by increased excretion of protons due to the excess of aldosterone. I hope this video was helpful to you. If you have any further questions, feel free to write us a comment. Otherwise, I see you in the next video.